grenade protein bar for breakfast.
I had one of
Terrible.
them last night. After Soho House.
Yeah, not good. Not good.
I don't really like them.
I just
I just needed a bit of chocolate. I was like,
yeah, I don't know why, just in the morning, I just get a craving for something sweet. It's not good, and it's just because it's on the go. So
tried fruit, man.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a strange craving in the morning. In the evening, but...
Yeah,
Fruit and honey.
To be fair, that's the other breakfast option, the Greek yogurt with the honey and
nice.
When we lived together, he would always.
Oh, of course, you guys.
And he would always leave his bowls in his bedroom for weeks, and it would just be this crusty yogurt around the bowl.
I couldn't do that. I'm like the cleanest, most like OCD freak. Like I would.
He's a busy guy, you know. He's a
I'd
busy
chuck it all in your bed.
man.
And no, I'm not having that. No.
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of D2C Diaries. Today we've got a very special guest, Oliver Kenyon, who's founder of ConversionWise, which has actually recently exited the agency to Supergroup, which is very exciting. So congratulations.
Thank
you. You've been a veteran within this world for
that makes me sound old.
It's a really nice way to say you're old.
Yeah. For what?
Watch it.
14, 15 years now within the space. So, we're really, really excited to dig into all things CRO, landing pages, post-click today. So, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, lads. Excited.
Cool. Well, I guess just like we'll maybe get more onto the origin story a little bit later, but we'll dive in straight with some kind of, insights and questions there. But I guess just for context, if you could just give your very quick, one-liner about a little bit more about who you are and, what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So founded ConversionWise about 12 years ago with co-founder Andy. Olly, I know you know him well. Built the agency up over the last 12 years, and we basically optimize people's sites. So turn more clicks into customers via experimentation, landing pages, and everything else that kind of, adds up to that.
Nice. You've got a super wide range of clients, haven't you?
Yes.
Maybe D2C, SaaS.
Yeah, I would say kind of 90% e-com. Of those 90, probably of that 90%, probably 90% of those are on Shopify. We do have the kind of odd kind of client who does SaaS or communities or coaching. Our kind of bread and butter is definitely the e-com side of things for sure.
Nice. And I think it'd be great to dig into to start like some like actionable like best practices and tips for people in 2024. Like what's really working for brands, what's setting brands apart in terms of those that are driving the best sort of post-click conversion rate or just getting the best results with the funnels that they're driving traffic through.
I think it's a good question. I think CRO as a whole doesn't really change much because it's based around human psychology, usability, UX, UI of sites. So I don't think the principles behind what you're doing or how you're trying to optimize human nature doesn't really change. I think obviously things like AI have come into play, and from an agency perspective, AI's just levitated what we can do, speed of execution, but also the kind of the intensity of how we do things like mining data. So I think AI is definitely huge on that side. Things like post-purchase surveys, whereas it used to be a very manual process. We'd have to look through spreadsheets and kind of pick out things like commonalities, tone of voice, objections that people are having. And I'm sure all the listeners kind of know what post-purchase survey is, but this is when you obviously ask your customers after they purchased some feedback around the user experience, why you purchased, why you almost didn't purchase today. And if you're working with a brand who's doing thousands of orders per month, that's a very manual task. Whereas now, using different types of AI, you can kind of mine that data very quickly. Same goes for reviews. So just leveraging AI to mine reviews, all the kind of review platforms and softwares that people use now, you can export, you can feed it into an AI, and you can kind of ask questions around, what commonalities have you spotted within these reviews? What are buzzwords that people are saying? What's the tone of voice, to really understand your demographic? And I think, again, like, it's not a 2024 thing, it's a CRO thing, and that doesn't change, but just understanding your audience. I think that's the biggest thing is just getting to know your audience, because even from like brand to brand, competitor to competitor, you'll have like different types of demographics within those.
It really, it always really interests me how like if you see under the hood of two brands that are in the same space, that they can be saying and doing things so differently, but it's working for both of them. And that's why I think it's really like dangerous when people just start trying to rip things from other people,
100%.
like ripping foreplay ads, like use it as inspiration, but don't just like copy and paste. Because sometimes the funnel that you might look at online that looks pretty horrible to you might be the one that's at like 6% conversion rate. It's just printing money for someone.
They always say ugly converts, right?
Yeah,
and it's kind of true. And I think we see this all the time, especially with things like Twitter, where there's so many, like there's a landing page designer popping up every single day now on Twitter, and they kind of rip up at people's pages and then say that it's going to work for you, and you're absolutely right. It's not like I think there are definitely, and this is a conversation we have a lot, but there are definitely best practices within CRO. 100%. There are frameworks that if you hired us as an agency to build you a store versus a web design agency that made your store look nice, like it looked aesthetically pretty, like our conversion principles that we would bake into that design would 100% outperform the pretty looking site. But I think where the big brands have the edge on their competitors is they really understand their audience. And I think that's huge. Trends wise, I think we're seeing a kind of resurgence of landing pages. For the first 8 years of our agency, we were called the landing page guys. We literally did what we said on the tin. Like me and Andy set out with this goal of like, let's become the number one agency for landing pages. And it kind of makes me happy that pages are kind of making a comeback. I think when you're kind of fighting for real estate online with ad competition, etc. I think to pre-sell people is super valuable. So we're seeing a lot of kind of listicles, advertorials, quiz funnels, survey funnels, with like really cool if conditional splits on there. So like more like a personalized shopping experience, which works very, very well. Bundling's huge at the moment, especially coming into Q4. Especially around like consumable products. Of course, if you've got a product that people are going to use more of, subscription is one way to go, but often we'll see kind of higher AOVs with actually like build a bundle type pages, which I think work very, very well as well at the moment.
I'd love to hear your thoughts, because obviously we're Hambi Media performance creative agency, so more that pre-click side, and we're seeing it more and more as a kind of pain point, how we may be doing everything right to be hitting those benchmarks from a soft metric or soft metric perspective to get that CTR higher to click off platform, but then there's a drop off post click. So that synergy is becoming much more important between the landing page and the creative itself as the ad. How do you guys collaborate with those that create the content for the ads? Before people are actually getting onto the pages.
Yeah, it's a really important step of the overall optimization process. So we're lucky that we work closely with our partners. Olly, for example, at Soar, we have several brands that you guys do the media, we will do the CRO, and I think it's having that kind of continuity from ad to page, even again tonality, copy, image, so that they're not getting a completely different experience post click. And I think that's huge. Like if you're working with any CRO agency who's not looking at your ads, then they're probably not, doing things as efficiently as they can, because there has to be that kind of that whole continuity step is really, really important for sure.
Yeah, makes sense. And then I guess like if you were doing a landing page that was more a listicle, let's say, where you're there, it's very persona driven, problem solution, really diving into a certain persona, and then that educational listicle once you get to the landing page. Regarding kind of the consistency there with the ad to get them to that landing page, because obviously when we're creating ads, we're creating listicles, but how do you approach that and the synergies between, the relevancy of the creative to the relevancy of the landing page?
I think on the landing page, you obviously have more flexibility. Like an ad's only so long, right? There's only so much. I'm sure you guys can tell me there's best practices for amount of characters in an ad, etc. So I think it's the same principles, making your page scannable, easy to read text, but we obviously have the advantage of things like hierarchy, so we can lay things out differently. We can support things with trust and credibility, social proof, for example. And then I think what's working very well on listicles, what we're seeing is actually offering things like a discount. So making that intent even more intensified, I guess, to purchase, instead of like just being all about the product.
Information,
Yeah.
It's like, well, actually, okay, I'm kind of pre-sold if I've scrolled this far. Give me a reason now to purchase on a quick decision. But yeah, I think the ad obviously has to pre-sell that page, and then the page has to continue that kind of story with similar messaging, similar tone of voice, etc. But we just have more flexibility on the page, obviously.
Yeah.
And then sending them through again, testing. So I think some people will be able to make purchases direct on, and it all comes into like price of the product, what type of product it is. But a lot of people can actually even just make a purchase via the listicle straight to a cart, for example. Whereas some people, you will need to take them to a product page to further kind of pre-sell them, because you need to use a kind of a PDP in that sense. But yeah,
Really interesting, the kind of the rise of listicles and the like downward pressure on content to become shorter to work, and whether those two, it'd be interesting to know whether those two things are related. It's like we see a lot of pressure now to like condense our concepts to be
Massively.
shorter and shorter and shorter, in line with attention spans, I think, in
Yeah,
line with
sure.
like what people want to consume. And that's kind of correlated with that rise in like listicles, and whether that's a piece of like,
I think that goes across the whole funnel, though, because one of our kind of, we always talk about these conversion principles, and we can list them off. There's some really important ones, but one of the most important ones and effective one, I mean, copy plays obviously a huge part, but like scannable copy. It sounds
you
stupid,
agree.
but like
Yeah.
even product descriptions now, like we see winning tests all the time from just taking that kind of boring snippet of code of text that like describes your product, and it's a couple of paragraphs, it pushes on mobile important things down below the fold, and just changing it to like 3 benefit driven bullet points.
Yeah.
Scannable, bolding the key
So
key
yeah, like
takeaway within that
bionic.
post.
Because I know I've actually seen some brands using like bionic writing on landing page, which it kind of highlight it, the first few letters of the sentence are bold, and it makes it much easier to then just
100%.
scan through it quickly.
So you want like title description, basically. But yeah, it goes back to kind of that intention, that kind of attention span is like just making sure that I always say it, but like slap it in front of people's faces, like make sure what you want them to read, they're reading, as opposed to like hiding things in big blocks of text and stuff. And obviously that's different on like an editorial piece. If you're a higher ticket product, or a product that's like needs explaining, then you would probably go for an advertorial versus a listicle, because it's more of an editorial piece. So like an advertorial is effectively like a news article, and that can be written in first person, third person, but it's where the product would need explaining a bit more versus like, hey, we all know that we're going to drink coffee. Well, why is this coffee good? 5 bullet points, like really quick. But if there's like a new health loss product or weight loss products, etc., that you actually need to explain to the user how it works, the science behind it, etc., then I think longer text works. But we would still, use bigger fonts, bold things, call out key benefits, put things in quotation marks, and kind of shove it in front of people's faces, which is crucial.
One that comes to mind for me from the Avatar is On It by Joe Rogan.
Yeah,
he run a lot of traffic through like a news article, picture of him, loads of text on like what the product was, but that was like quite a somewhat innovative product in terms of its promise and its benefits.
Yeah, we built a few of their original pages on it. Yeah,
run a lot of stuff through that. It's interesting.
Yeah.
You mentioned bundling and AOV, and I think that's a big challenge for brands. I think that's going to continue to be a big challenge for brands as we go through into next year and onwards, really, as traffic costs continue to rise. Like, you got to make your creative work harder, you got to capture more attention, but fundamentally CPMs on some of these core platforms are going to continue to go up. It's interesting what you said around like bundling versus subscription and like where people are going in terms of that. We've favored a lot of bundling with our brands because it captures that value straight away.
Yeah,
but I think it's something that's underutilized by a lot of people.
I think it's something you have to test, especially if you are a repeatable product. I think bundling. The thing with bundling is, especially if you build like a builder bundle page, it really to the user feels like a really cool experience of like, I am getting discount, and I can kind of, especially if you've got multiple SKUs, so you can build your bundle and I can get several different items for a discount. It's very cool, versus like a subscribe and save is very hard to do on the front end. And you can obviously do it, and obviously some brands lean into subscribe and save. Where we found with our clients typically works better is get them on subscription via email. And get them just sold on the front end. especially like you say, when ad costs are so like important and you want to at least break even or hopefully make money on that front end sale to boost that AOV. I think things, but not just you can try just, you know, on the PDP having like stacks, offer stacks and bundles, and there's ways of doing that, of course, you know, using labels, making sure that your most popular bundle has a call out with a label, making sure it's bigger than the single item, so the value perception is far greater. But I think taking it one step further and getting like really kind of intuitive with building specific builder bundle pages, or like build your box, or you know, create your own box, or kind of stack it like that. It's a whole shopping experience. It's not just like clicking one, oh, I'm going to get a discount, I might go for it. It's like, it's kind of gamifying the whole bundle thing, where it's like, oh, I can add all these items in and keep saving, and the more I add, the more I'm going to save. And I think we found those kind of dedicated pages work really, really well, versus bundling on a PDP, which can work, of course it can, but I think having those specific pages that you're driving media to works very, very well.
I'd love to tap into, because again, something we've spoken about in quite a few episodes is like this idea of focus and brands just really focusing on doing one thing well and one thing right. But then obviously this is such a big part of that process. We get questions all the time about, you know, should I be moving to this platform? Should I be building landing pages as well? Should we, you know, be doing newsletter, whatever it might be? What advice do you have for brands as to when they really need to start optimizing through CRO, through landing pages, and really start kind of focusing on that?
Yeah, it's a great question, because we have two sides to our solution. So we have the landing page solution, which is design, and then we have our optimized solution, which is the ongoing experimentation, et cetera, et cetera. And we, on our lead form, we ask how much volume of traffic are you doing, so we can quite clearly see where we think they should be to start with. We kind of, as a rule of thumb, say anything over around about 100,000 sessions per month, it gives you enough data to quantify an A/B test. It's not A/B, but it could be ABCD or a split test or whatever you want to call it. Anything below that, and I know we've had this conversation recently, I think you're better off building direct response, aggressive sales pages. So like pages that are built for post-click, for paid media, and scaling with a landing page until you get to that amount of sessions. And then you can look at, because you have the data, you can then look at kind of starting to test. Store wide, I think it makes sense, because, you know, we get a lot of clients who come in and they say, you know, we have 100,000 sessions. We're thinking, great, we can test, but they might be sending a lot of media to different pages across their funnels, across their store, pre-sales, etc. And really your money pages, or the pages that you're driving media to, is 20,000 sessions. And effectively that's probably too small to test on. You can take bigger swings. So in that instance, I would say, let's build you a completely different landing page to basically split test against. Because, and that's where best practices 100% come in. So that's where, you know, we're not just kind of testing hypothesis. We're saying, no, this layout is going to convert better. And 9 times out of 10, it typically will. But I think 100,000 sessions and above is where you should be. A non-negotiable in my eyes should be A/B testing.
What are some of those? I know it's quite difficult to say just over a podcast, but you know, what if they are below those 100,000 sessions, whatever it might be? What are some of those kind of checklist points that you might mention that regarding kind of best practices?
Yeah, 100%. We kind of we talk about this a lot. We summarize it by sort of 5 to 10 points, and there's no real hierarchy. I think I always use this kind of like notion of, like you said it, checkpoints. So like, I think, you know, everyone sees the scale going up like this, but I think if you like tick one, it goes up a little bit, you tick another one, it goes up, and you start to compound when you add all these kind of principles in. But just to fire through, and you're probably gonna have to stop me because I can talk forever about this, but I think social proof is huge. Social proof is massive. And you mentioned trends. We're seeing a lot of brands now needing way more social proof. So I think common mistakes that we see is things like people will have the review at the top of their product page, but it's not clickable. And if you install heat map on scroll map software, you'll see that so many people are clicking that stars and 4 out of 5 stars or whatever. So just a simple hack is just having that scroll down to your review section is massive. But social proof is huge, just and you can
on social proof. I think I also think the quality and authenticity of the social proof. I've found that on our sites is like, you have to like you used to just be able to put like almost stock imagery on a new
What's
page.
that site? This person doesn't exist. Or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
yeah, and it's just like now I feel like you have to. It's either UGC or it's like
back it up.
really raw, authentic photos, really true stories that. It's like some of the times you'll see a page and you'll read the reviews that are like close above the fold, and they're just like random comments about the product rather than being like specifically hard working against the benefits or the pain
There you go.
points.
So
Exactly.
the pain point is the massive one. So one test that we see win all the time is mining your post-purchase surveys, finding the common objection or pain point, and then finding a review that answers that objection like above the fold is huge. We ran a recent test on a sandal like shoe brand, and the founder was fixated with like, no, everyone is obsessed with the look of this sandal. It's all about the aesthetics. It's all about how good it looks. And we were like, fine, who are we to tell you? You know, you own the brand. That's fine. But when we were going through the post-purchase surveys, the amount of people that said, so the most important question you can ask post-purchase is what almost stopped you from buying today? And the amount of people that said like we were unsure of the quality of the shoe, like we were just skeptical that this was even a good quality shoe that we're paying like $120 for. So we found reviews that kind of would say like, I was amazed by the quality of the shoe when I received it, like amazing shoe. Put them above the fold, and like the revenue per session went through the roof. So that's a really good way of doing it.
So we do the same from an ads perspective, where if we'll look at some of those, like similarly to you with the review mining, look at what those common objections are, or even just through social listening on their channels, seeing what people are kind of some of those frequently asked questions or kind of core objections. We'll put that in like a comment reply box, and then just the ad will be responding directly to that objection. Which works really well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think trust is a huge one. Trust and credibility. So another quick hack that I think every store should have is like, we call it like a trust policy bar, but a little bar that sits below your navigation bar, and you just call out 3 or 4 things that make you trusted as a brand. So things like served over 1,000 customers, satisfaction guarantee. Let's say you're a consumable product and you're made in the UK, selling to the UK, made in the UK, vegan friendly, like all these kind of things that nowadays so many brands are competing with Amazon. Like all of us shop on Amazon, right? And I know we know this, but you wouldn't think twice about buying anything on Amazon. You never ever think like, oh, I'm not going to check out here. True. Like, is this going to get sent to me? Like, can I follow through with this? Am I going to lose my money? Like, you never ever think that. You just click the button, bang, it's like with you the next day. So I think we're competing with that as brands. So what you have to try and do above the fold, as soon as like someone's landing on your page from like a cold ad, you know, you might never have heard of the brand and you're just clicking on this page, is make yourself trusted as a brand. And I think that's a really nice way of doing it. Other thing is things like, you know, payment seals. I don't think payment seals really work anymore. I think they do on a cart maybe. I
think they do for
leverage. Leverage like leverage authority of the other thing. Definitely. I think there was a day where you would put it by all call to actions. Like it's probably a video of me like 5 years ago saying like every call to action has to have payment seals. I don't think it's that important anymore, but trust and credibility. So I think that's a huge one. Objection handling. You mentioned FAQs. Like, frustrates me why people don't have FAQs on all of their pages. Just handle those objections up front. One really nice one you can do is actually have an FAQ in a tabulated drop down just below the CTA on a product page. Especially again if you have a lot of objections, or you're like not a very common product. Like again, coffee. Everyone knows what coffee is; they buy it. But if your product needs explaining, and you have a lot of people, exactly that. So I think handling objections is massive. I think usability is all of these things are so important. Usability probably is the most important. Just making sure that like your page works. Like, how many brands have actually sat down and purchased from their own site?
I was literally about to say that. Like, so many people need to just stop, go on the site and buy a product. And like
scroll around
and like whilst they're doing it, or get someone else to do it as well, and then just like
100%.
document every single thing that's like, well, this is difficult.
So for all of our brands, one of the first things we do is user testing, which is exactly that. It's random people that we actually pay to go and buy the product.
Right.
And then we'll survey those people and say like, how was it? And we'll obviously do screen recording as well. So we'll see like if there's any bottlenecks, and you can get this, obviously you can make assumptions through like, you know, your analytics and your tracking. But I think there's nothing better than, like you said, just actually going and trying to buy your product and seeing how smooth that was. And it, you know, CRO comes down to the fine margins. It's stupid things like just making sure the CTA button on mobile is in the same place, like consistently throughout your funnel, making sure you're using the same kind of buttons, same terminology on buttons, directional cues on buttons. So yeah, and I think like breadcrumbs top left convert better than breadcrumbs on top right because it's easier to click up there and look. Mega menus is a hugely under optimized part of your site. So we see so many winning tests for big brands just by optimizing their mega menus, and it's just making them like way more visual. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, you think about it, like if you haven't bought a product from a store before, what a lot of people do is they click the menu because they just don't really know where to go. They want to like see what's available within the store. They want to go to a collection page. You know, you normally have this hero section with a big CTA of like shop now, but they'll just want to see like what categories, what products I can buy. So your mega menu is actually clicked a lot, and using the phrase, it's obviously your menu button on breadcrumb. It comes down on mobile and desktop. So for new purchases, the best thing you can do in a mega menu is just pinning your best selling products to the top of that menu, but having clear visuals of the product, having the CTA, bringing a bit of social proof, and then when you comes to your mega menu items, again using images. So a lot of people just have these boring text links that don't incentivize a click. Whereas if you have an image, people are drawn towards an image, and those images will get clicked way more than the links. And then getting rid of, like we mentioned a couple of times, like mistakes, getting rid of like all the non-money pages, I call them. So like your about us, your contact us, your blog links, like no one needs them at the top of the menu in your cart or in your mega menu. Like push them to the bottom, make them smaller fonts, separate them, and just really incentivize that kind of money page click, which works a lot.
Yeah, nice. I'd love to know, because again, something that we've really been going hard on over the last kind of 12 months is founder stories, and really trying to, when we work with these brands, when we're consulting with them, trying to bring their stories to the forefront that we can tell through that creative and through that advertising. I would love to know, you know, if there's anything you do when you're working with these brands to really bring that personal story of the brand owner through the website.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've got a mutual client who does this very well, a skincare product, and I think it's just I don't know if we can mention names. So Nick does this very well and always has done.
Yeah, that was our silver bullet ad for 47 Skin.
Yeah,
that one.
amazing. Yeah, and I think he leverages himself in a really, really great way in his kind of origin story of why he created the product.
Yeah,
and we do encourage it, absolutely. If there is a founder behind there and they're happy to kind of be leveraged, I think it gives that personal kind of touch. You know, people like buying from people. It's the same on like agency websites, etc. We always encourage people, if we're building like course pages or membership pages or agency pages, to have like the founders on there, because
for sure
it tells like it's a personal connection. Like I'm much more likely to buy from someone where I know there's a person behind it as opposed to like a cold kind of faced brand. So I think just having like an about us section on that homepage that tells your story. I wouldn't necessarily always start with it, but I think further down the fold, I would definitely have that section. And then like you say, lean into it on the ads for sure.
It's like you say, it is very dependent on the story, right? You can't force that story, and absolutely. It needs to be authentic. And I think with Nick, like you could, honestly, when we started working with 47 Skin, I was like, this is gold. like you can't write that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So
a good example of that is hostage tape. Hostage tape.
Oh yeah.
Guy who it's just like the sleep tape.
Sleep tape for your mouth.
His whole narrative was around like the concept that it saved his marriage. Like he was lazy, like overweight, and just struggling to do anything and be motivated. Tested this product, slept better, changed his life, and that was like the funnel around that narrative. And I think it got him to like mid 8 figures off just that.
That's crazy.
Such a simple product.
He's literally selling mouth tape.
Ezra Firestone. So we work with Boom. I think they've changed now. I think Cindy Joseph was the kind of originally founder. I think she's passed on now, but that was a similar thing where like she told the story of how there was so many makeup products in the market, but they're all for the younger generation, and she just didn't feel comfortable wearing this product, and it wasn't good for her older skin and stuff, and like we leveraged that throughout the whole site, and it's just a really nice piece for like that demographic to connect with someone who's going through the same story, because people connect with people, right? Like, so it was really nice to kind of explain her pain points and why she founded this business, similar to Nick at 47 Skin, and it's a really good piece to play on for sure.
Yeah, same as like that Made by Mitchell. Like it's just it's that
he's crushing,
their makeup brand.
Okay.
But he's just he's very founder led brand.
Yeah.
Really has built this incredible community. I think I was chatting to Olly the other day on WhatsApp, and I think they were on TikTok Shop and did about $1 million a day on TikTok Shop, which is just ridiculous, just unbelievable scale.
He did 600k in 12 hours. Yeah.
Well,
I have a question about TikTok Shop. Actually, that's really good. That was like you read my
segue.
mind.
Perfect.
there. Like obviously, rise of TikTok Shop, rise of social commerce.
Yeah.
And that like pulling sales off site.
Yeah.
Which I think is obviously a very common thing in sort of Eastern culture, and definitely something that we're seeing the rise of in Western culture, even if it is a bit slower than some people maybe thought. Like, how do you think that's going to play into sort of site experience? I don't think websites are ever going to go away.
No, I think
it's-
I think attribution channels come and go, and there's always new ways of purchasing, and I think for us it's especially with like consumable products or products that are bought more than once, you're always going to go back to that store.
Yeah.
And I think principles can apply to, you know, the ads on TikTok, for example. But yeah, I think it's just one of those where I think people are always going to be going to websites. You always, you know, you get your email, you go back to a website, you don't go back through to shop.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be enough traffic to go around, basically.
Definitely. I wonder where that kind of percentage is going to land, because I do think shops and purchasing on platform and purchasing at the point of where you see the ad
Yep.
is going to continue to take
Certainly
share of
yeah,
wallet,
agreed,
because it's kind of a continuation of that shorter attention span trend. It's like you're able to take quicker action.
Yeah, and you're buying on a platform that's all about quick.
Yeah.
So how quick can we
dopamine.
make this?
Well, it's
Like,
like
have you ever
it's
been
the
on-
Amazon thing of you can literally purchase something with one button,
Yeah.
one click.
You have
Yeah.
to put your card in.
Have you ever been on any of the? This is interesting as well. Have you ever been on like any of the Temu, and what's the other big Chinese
No, I don't think
directs?
Alibaba.
There's I think it's Shein and Temu. Have you ever been on them?
Shein?
Oh, Shein. Yeah.
So,
Sorry,
like-
the fashion brand.
And
I
T-
can't-
Those
Temu's
sites,
like-
like give me a headache.
Temu's like the direct to consumer version of Alibaba, really.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like when you go on there, you should
Used to be
definitely
AliExpress, was it
yeah. Well, that still exists, but
Okay.
Temu's like they're selling direct. They're
right,
spending
fine.
billions on Facebook. Like
Yeah,
they
yeah.
drove like the biggest growth in spend for Meta over the last 12 months was Chinese businesses spending into the West. And it was a lot of it was driven by two companies, Shein and Temu,
Wow.
like massive amounts.
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
spending billions of dollars a week in
Yeah.
Q4. But you go on the website and it's honestly like gambling.
It's awful.
It's like
They
gambling.
go
it's
against
like
every like CRO principle.
But
It's crazy. The amount of pop-ups and like
Yeah.
flashing banners
It's
and like
crazy. It's like dopamine.
yeah.
It's like addictive shopping. Is what
Yeah,
they're trying
yeah.
to build around. They have a huge amount of like psychologists working for the company. I was
Yeah.
reading about it, and it's just all around optimizing to like trigger certain emotions in your mind to make you buy more,
Yeah,
which is
yeah.
really, really
It's
interesting.
very interesting.
A completely different way of doing things.
That's
So,
crazy.
Yeah, like I say, it probably goes against everything we
Yeah.
we preach, but it works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a society of dopamine deficiency.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, this has been ridiculously valuable, all of these insights that we've gone through here. I'd love to just spend a little bit of time going into a little bit more about the exit and
Yeah.
everything there. I mean, firstly, I'd just love to know, was this part of the roadmap? You
Yeah.
know, were you there 10, 15 years ago, sitting in the shower with the affirmations going, or was this? Is it?
I was in a kitchen 15 years ago. I was a full-time chef, so I didn't have the mental capacity to or time to sit in the shower and think about 15 years' time. No, I've never really been like a forward thinker as far as like 5-10 years.
Yeah.
I always like having like the next goal. So whether that's to like pay the house off or to make sure that my kids are secure, like that's for me is like the way to do it, and that's how I always worked. But with the exit, so first and foremost, we're fully still in the business. So just for clarity, we took some equity in the acquiring company as well, and we're kind of all on mission to grow all of the agencies within that company. But no, it was something where I would say I hate there's this term that is banded around lifestyle business, and I think for probably the first like 8-9 years in existence of conversion wise, what was landing page guys. Me and Andy effectively had a lifestyle business.
Mm.
So we had a reasonable sized team, probably like 15, 20 people, all freelancers. Me and Andy ran pretty much all the day to day, like for 8 years straight. Andy was on projects and I was sales and marketing. And we never kind of, we didn't have a business where you would set goals, you wouldn't set targets, you wouldn't do forecasts, all the things that probably businesses should do, but we were very naive because we just didn't know. We were doing fine. We were selling lots of landing pages and doing really well and having a great time and
keeping it simple.
Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, absolutely. Really,
Got to follow
good.
the happiness, don't you?
Yeah, it was fine. But I think we sat down, myself and Andy. I can remember the conversation, and we just said like, do we want to do this for another 9 years? And we both said no. And it wasn't necessary that we didn't want to like do this. There was no like, are we sure? Yeah, it was like no. And it wasn't that we didn't want to do what we're doing like within CRO and landing pages. It was like we just didn't want to keep floating. We wanted like more accountability is huge. So for me and Andy, who sole ownership of the company, we didn't answer to anyone, we didn't have goal targets, as I said. I think it was really exciting to explore this opportunity that came to us where all of a sudden we would have targets and goals and we could probably outdo what we did in 8 years in like a year. And that's fucking really exciting for us. That was really cool. So we were approached by industry friends, mutual friends. I think Olly, you know these guys. And the model they have set up is they have almost like a kind of, it's funny to call it like an incubator because normally incubators invest in startups and we're 8 years old, but like they have this kind of angel backed side of the business where they will invest in sort of 10-20% of your company. Typically that means the founders get a nice little pat on the back, a little bit of cash out. Well done for the last 8 years in our case. This was actually 10 years, so this was 2 years ago. And they then have a group of mentorship under that co kind of umbrella where there's people who have been there and done it. So, very, very successful people.
Cool model that.
Yeah, really cool. And they will then give you a kind of EBITDA target to then be acquired 100% into the holding group at the top.
Right.
So it's like a real clear roadmap and trajectory. And me and Andy had this offer in front of us and we just sat down and we said, this is right. This is what we need to kind of go again. Like we were both pretty knackered of like, starting every month from scratch and doing things a little bit ad hoc. And we're not getting any younger. So we were just like, let's give this a go. And yeah, we accelerated through that kind of phase and were acquired by Supergroup. Probably about 6 months ago now.
Amazing.
And I can honestly say it's been the best couple of years of my life professionally. Really cool. I had an exit before, which was really great. And that was like, I think that one was a bit different because that one for me was like, I didn't have any money. I was a chef. That was the one where I was like, yeah, fuck education. I've just sold a business. Like, and it kind of, it was one to, I hope my mum and dad are not listening, but one to like shove in their face of like, come on, I did it. This one was very different. I think this one is I'm really enjoying what we're doing now, and we have like now bigger plans. Again like that accountability piece again is like, okay, what can we do now for the next couple of years? And that for me is super, super exciting to be part of a bigger group. And like we could primarily for like the first 8-9 years, I would say 90% of our clients were in the US or Canada or Australia, not really in the UK. And I think what's been really nice is both of these kind of companies are within the UK and just getting to know people in the UK and like doing really great networking and being around like-minded entrepreneurs and individuals. Really enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, because we've obviously merged into the same group recently. So obviously slightly different, but I felt the exact same. I think as well for me it was like I was a solo founder, so it does get lonely when you're kind of doing it on your own. And so coming together with others and setting those joint goals and working to them together and helping motivate one another is really exciting. But I'd love to ask, because one thing I was always worried about going into exiting my business was that whole thing of like gold medal syndrome, when people work for however many years towards that goal, they hit that goal, or in the case of the metaphor, they get that gold medal, and then it leaves them feeling lost. Or, you know, was that something that you experienced in any way? Or
no. So my first exit, which was in 2017, I was lucky that I had this business as well. So I went straight from selling a company called Affiliate Fix into the scaling conversion-wise with Andy, and I'm very lucky that I have Andy on record. Andy, if you're watching, no, because he's just fantastic. He's literally the other side of me. You know, everything I'm bad at, he's good at, and everything I'm good at, he's quite bad at. But this time around, I think it was really important from both sides. So the group acquiring us and from our side, that there was like a plan in place. So it's not like the deal I'm able to say is kind of cash off table on day one, but also performance. So we're really incentivized to still be within the agency. As I said, we took some equity within the bigger group as well. So we now have a bigger play and with a bigger target and a bigger plan in place. So I think for us, it's, if anything, it's kind of the opposite. Like we're in this new thing now, and it's like everyone's pushing towards this, and like we had a board meeting the other day. I've never had a board meeting in my life. Like it was quite a cool experience. So like actually, again, I think
was it the cliche boardroom? And
no, it was really cool. Very nice hotel. Yeah, no, not at all. Just they're really great guys. And I think again for me, it's the accountability piece. I think that's huge. Like I think you can just coast, but I think now having people to answer with, some people wouldn't like that, but I really like showing up and like hitting targets and being like, come on then, like give me something out, give me something more. Like I'm quite a driven person. I'm quite relentless. So I think for me that was like really exciting part of it for sure.
You said to me the other day that you're the busiest you've ever been.
Yeah, it's so funny. I saw my mum the other day, and she's like, "So you know, since you merged, then you not more relaxed now then?" And I said, "I've never been more busy. I've never been more stressed." But it's in a good way. In a good way, we're going pretty aggressive,
built, right? Like I think it takes
positive
all
pressure.
Yeah, but there's also people who want to exit because they want to exit.
Yeah,
and I think it just depends what you're getting.
I didn't do it for that reason. Right. I did it to come so we could come together and
the bigger
grow. Yeah,
there you go. And that's
from a
the same
group level.
With us. But I think some people, and there's nothing wrong with it. Some people don't, you know, they have a non-compete, but they don't even want like an earn out or anything. It's like I'm done, and then they go sit on the beach, and that's fine. I'm probably like you. I'm not built like that. I couldn't sit on the beach for like an hour, let alone.
I know.
I think there's a point
a day.
There's a point that will. So I truly believe there's a point where everybody gets to the end of the course with a business, and they want to
with a business,
with
but not business.
Not
business. Definitely not.
Yeah. Or not. Maybe it won't be business. Maybe when you get to the end of it, and then you'll want to do like. It's like having something to work on.
Yeah,
it doesn't necessarily.
Some
it could be charity,
form of
it could be hobby, it could be
like,
I don't know what that is, but I think you have to have that.
Yeah, family
to
definitely does change you as well.
Yeah.
I'm lucky to have two beautiful little girls, and like I think that has calmed me down a little bit. But yeah, I think we travel kind of around Europe for a month or two every year, and I think that's a really amazing opportunity to spend quality time with them. And I'm fortunate I can do that. I don't take that for granted, and I think I still work every day because that's just how my head works. But that's an amazing. There's no excuse not to spend time with your kids. Like so, I think that's definitely helped on that side.
Yeah. Should we
wrap up? I think we're coming into the end there, but it's been such an interesting conversation, and would love to get you on again at some point.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Oliver. Appreciate it. And
thanks.
Obviously, if you guys like this video, please give it a like, subscribe to us on YouTube, Spotify, and
where can we find you?
That was going to be my next point.
Just do all that.
You can tell it's episode.
Grows, I'm happy.
You can't tell it's episode 5. Exactly.
Everything's. I like it. Yeah, thanks, mate. Thank you. You did promise. No, everything's at Oliver Kenyon. So Twitter at Oliver Kenyon, Facebook, or if you want to have a look at what we do as an agency, conversionwise.com. Any ecom brands above 100,000 sessions will turn more clicks into customers.
Amazing. Well, we'll make sure you get all of your links down below. So if you want to get in touch, go there.
Cool. But make sure you subscribe.
That comes first. Cool. Appreciate it. See you guys later.